Even though no one was injured, some feelings were apparently hurt by a perceived school threat, this time in Pekin. Good Monday evening. I'm Tyler Lopez.
And I'm Janice Rebholz. One father telling us he wasn't notified about that potential threat until the next day. Liz Lake now in the studio with more on tonight's top story.
Janice, in a letter to Rankin School parents Friday afternoon, administration explained they were made aware of concerning comments made by a student Thursday night about having a gun, going into a building, and coming out with a boom. Some parents say they didn't receive that letter until Friday at 4 p.m., and they feel like administration should have taken it more seriously. In a statement, Rankin Superintendent Dr. Matt Gordon says after learning about the comments, they interviewed the student with their parents Friday morning and found them to be non-specific, inappropriate, and insensitive, but not a direct threat. The student also said they were talking to other students about playing a video game and that the comments were not intended to be threatening. In the letter to parents, the school's threat assessment team determined the risk presented was minimal, but parents are still worried. One parent said they wish they had known sooner and want there to be policies in place to notify parents and law enforcement when this happens. That parent said they called Pekin Police and the Tazewell County Sheriff's Office on Friday to get more information, but the officers had not yet been informed about the potential threat. Superintendent Gordon says administration is currently reviewing the process on how to handle these incidents. He wants to encourage parents to talk to students at home about this issue and remind them to continue reporting threatening language. The student that made the comments will face disciplinary consequences.